Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Cilinix Crypto. Hope you're all doing great, and welcome to this new video right here on Ethereum. Your daily update, but also a little bit of a preparation for next week. Next week is most likely, especially the start of next week, is going to be quite, or at least can be quite major. I mean, the liquidity, the volume right now in the markets. But also you can see Ethereum. It's really narrowing down, right? So that's also the thumbnail I made. I mean, you can see right now that's the supply and demand are really compressing the price right now, which most likely, especially also when there's potential for fundamentals, which we'll talk about in a moment, but also when there's potential for a breakout. That significantly increases the chances of volatility, and when there's low liquidity. That's what I wanted to say. My apologies. But yeah, and then we have fundamentally, to start off with that, before we talk about the technicals here for Ethereum, fundamentally, we not only have some major economic data coming out next week with some data on Tuesday, but most of the data coming out on Thursday. Quite major data with the unemployment rates and non-farm payrolls usually being on Friday, but now being pushed to Thursday because Friday is July the 4th, so Independence Day in the United States, of course. So that's going to be quite major. But then outside of that, what we already saw on Friday and Saturday as well is that this trade war and tariffs and trade deals situation is also flaring up a little bit again, and there's potential that it flares up even more next week. The deadline, for example, for one of the major trade deals for the United States, which is between the United States and Europe, the EU, I should say, that the deadline for that is coming up, right? And who knows hopefully it goes right, but who knows? So therefore, fundamentally, there's quite a lot of tension. And then, like I said, technically, you can see right here for Ethereum, the price is really in a very narrow range. And you can see that every time that we have done that in the last couple of months, first of all, it was different because the volume here was higher. We were not in a summer market. But every time we got a pretty explosive move. So right now the big question is also, which explosive move are we going to get? Which aggressive move are we going to get? And what I've said in all of my last Ethereum videos, and I really want to preach that, right? As a trader, you should be prepared for both scenarios, especially given the circumstances right now. Like the fundamentals could really fall both ways. And you should be prepared for both scenarios. And I think personally what you should be prepared for as well, like with the low liquidity, what's most likely going to happen is that if we get some good fundamentals or if we get a good move, a strong move, we're going to leave imbalances as well, right? So let's say that we all of a sudden hear rumors about the EU and the United States getting to a trade deal. We'll probably do this. We'll create an imbalance here to the downside, but we will most likely not fill that imbalance. Right, so a breakout, if we get a breakout and it's a real breakout, right? So it's with volume, it's with fundamentals backing it. Don't wait for the entire retest. We're most likely just going to move all the way up to the top of the range right here if it's good news, or we're most likely going to drop down all the way to 2250 and 2300 if it's bad news. Because honestly, and I know that's not necessarily, well, I mean, if hopefully it's what you want to hear, but honestly, we could move both ways. I mean, if you look at the chart right here, what you can see is that, there's imbalances to the upside here. There's very old naked POCs, and there's some poor highs right here. There's some very old single prints all the way up to the top of the range, even all the way up to 2700. And then we also have imbalances here to the downside. There's, in my opinion, there's not a clear bias as to where the price wants to move. Now, I think the price is waiting for those fundamentals to give it direction, and then the price will easily follow into that direction with volume. So that's what we're waiting for. What I always say, and my personal bias right now is a little bit bearish. There's some, like I said, there is imbalances there. And I think fundamentally, the tension is not great, and I'm not sure if it's completely priced in. So I would say this is most likely. I do not expect lower bottoms. I think this level right here around 2250, 2300 is going to hold, and I think eventually we can also move back into the range, which is also this is also possible if we get good news. But like I said, I think it's a little bit better to assume the news is going to be bad, and then if it's good, position yourself long. But those are my thoughts. That's what I think you need to know. So for now, thank you for watching. I'll see you all in my next videos, and bye.